Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Sugar, Spice and Everything Chaos. So for today's episode, we're trying something new. So this season again, just to remind you, we're gonna do politics of the female psyche. And the last few episodes, we thought we could kind of get into the psychology of the female psyche and see how we can work with changing our mindset so that the systems can eventually follow. Right. So, very specifically, we're going to talk about childhoods today. And hopefully, just listening to it, it's going to make you laugh. It's going to make you cry a little. It's just going to make you feel good overall because, childhood is just childhood, right? Like that's your period of innocence. That's your period of like also pure wisdom. Also, that's the period where I think all of us uh, really believed in the possibility that like unconditional love was possible because we embodied unconditional love ourselves. So, to begin this episode, let me shoot this question to Anne. And what was your favorite childhood memory?
So there's a lot of childhood memories that I kind of cherish. Is one of the thing is like when I was very small, when I used to take a bath, like in the floor that I used to put a lot of soap and use it as a slide to go from one place to another. I used to spend a lot of time doing that. I used to have so much fun, and I was a single child, right? So I used to create my own fun, be creative. There's another thing I think I've not told you is that I generally like eating murukku. Okay, that is my
Mm.
favorite thing. So my mom used to send me to the shop to get stuff, and you used to get the remaining, 1 rupees or 2 rupees. You used to get the remaining change, and I used to buy for 1 rupees. I used to get four murukku, and then my mother would not have probably scolded me, but it's just that I used to love that murukku so much. I used to on the way to walking to my home, I used to finish it, and I'll have two more murukku left. So I'll go back again and I'll eat it again. So until everything is gone inside, I want to enter the home. So I think that is something that I really think it's very funny. Yeah.
Right. So, uh, when it comes to like childhood memories, what you see is like there's a lot of places where you do certain things that you like feel like your parents don't approve of, but you do them anyway because it just feels good. You kind of have like this inner sense of like satisfaction and pleasure that comes from life, but you also kind of secretly start to have like a hidden personality where you feel like, if this was something that kind of got exposed to the adult world, they will not approve of you. I think, that's something that we need to talk about specifically in today's episode. Why do we actually create that shadow space where it's usually something that's driven by guilt or fear? And what you see is like, this sort of persona that gets created, right, where you feel this guilt and things, and so you kind of decide to have like a secret life which most people in your life do not get to see. And as an adult, right, what this kind of looks like is you stop trusting everyone around you. So it starts small. Like the guilty pleasure is something that's there as a child, but then as an adult you slowly see that you change into this person who is scared of everyone and anyone, because like that if they found this about you, they would probably like not approve and they will reject you. So from a place of like just joy and pure love, you kind of get into this place of like, oh no, this person is not going to be okay with it, so I have to instead of saying I will not do it, what we kind of do is like, I will do it, but I will start to hide myself from this person more. And what this does to us as individuals is we lose connection with humanity. We are constantly, with people, but then we don't feel comfortable with people. We talk about social batteries and things. So what we see is like, to be with someone, but like to perform, to wear a mask and be with someone means that we get drained because that's not our real self. But like, we also don't want to lose people. So we stay there, we wear a mask, and this is basically what mental illness is, right?
Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about all of these things from the past, right? So you see that the kind of in therapy, the kind of the approach that I usually take is connected to childhood. That's the approach that I take. And I think It's the reason that I kind of resonate with that kind of ideology, to go back to see where the pattern is coming from childhood, is because you will see that the same thing that they learned as a child is what they do now. Like for example, there's this client of mine, when she was small, like she had her witnessed her parents fighting. And then as a child, she was told, like when she intervened and say, as a 4 year old, she said, Mama, Papa, don't fight. And then she was shouted at and she was locked inside a room along with her other cousins, sisters, and brothers. And then once they finished fighting, they used to be social. She was saying she used to be very scared inside and cry. All of them used to cry. But once they finished fighting, they used to open the door and make them put them to sleep. Right. So, according in the child's brain, it was like, okay, if I forget about this thing happening, like something is happening in front of you, you just try to not deal with it, things will go away on its own. That's the kind of learning that the child learned at that age. Right now, she as an adult, she's with a partner and the partner is fighting, and the partner is expecting accountability and ownership, and she is going numb and dissociating. So you see
Hmm.
how things are like coming back from the past, and the child is like right now completely handicapped to deal with the real situation.
What do you think is like the solution for this? Because, this is something that we talk about in psychology, where we say that most of your personality gets formed by age 5. But that's also like not a very good thing, right? So all of us just with adult bodies but functioning with like a mental emotional age of 5, that's not healthy. And maybe that's the reason we have so much chaos happening, politically, happening socially. But how do we fix this psychologically? How do we get out of like age 5 and become age 6, age 7? How do we reparent ourselves is my question basically.
See, I think this inner child thing. I know it's a age old thing in therapy, that a lot of people are aware of the fact that inner child healing and things like that. But I think many of us don't really understand or take for granted who that little girl or a little boy inside of us. We don't really look at that person. Like I remember a lot of people, even in client situation, when I ask her how would she feel, the little girl would feel that you are abandoning her, you are rejecting her, you're being hard on her. They don't care. They really don't care. It's just that I think it is and these people are the ones who have so much of empathy, right? So much of love, but for other people, not for them. So this dissonance is there in my mind. Like, I want to understand is, what do you think? Why is that that empathy is always directed outside and not towards you? What then is that really empathy? I'm just
One
want to
theory
ask
that
you.
I have, yeah, so one theory that I have about people who are empathetic towards others, but then they're very uh, self-inflicting of pain, like when it comes to themselves, is probably because they don't believe that they are capable of being loved. Like, they don't believe that they are worthy enough of love because they've learned that love is conditional from a very young age. So if someone does show them, like love, right? They're probably going to be very suspicious of it. They're going to be like, no, what does this person want? What do I have that I can give? Because there's a high chance that their self-worth, their self-esteem is very low. So when a really good person does come into your life, I think what you would do is you would hurt them to kind of prove yourself that you are right about how you are unlovable. So let's say, that being very kind to you, you would be very unkind to them, where you would like abuse them, and you would see how they handle it. I know of, cases where I see this thing where this girl would be very empathetic, and then she would get into a relationship with this guy who's like, very sincerely trying to pursue her. And what she would end up doing is she would like for the first time ever, she would get angry in the relationship, and it wouldn't stop there. She would, in one like confrontation, she would have slapped him, and this guy would like hide it away until, so this was in a therapy session where he kind of admitted saying like, yeah, she slapped. And it was not easy for him because he didn't want to give her a bad impression, right? But then when this whole situation was like unraveling itself, it was very sad to kind of see that girl break down again and, say she doesn't know why she slapped him. She
Mm.
doesn't know. Like it came down to, I don't know why I did that because I do love him. She's nice to everyone who's actually unkind to her. She's extremely self-sacrificing to people who treat her, like who take her for granted, who outright abuse her. But with this one guy who's like feeling safe towards, who's creating a safe space for her, she was, very careless with the way that she handled him. And, that was something that we had to process, where she had to, like, the repair was there because there is abuse, right? So I think for people who have this kind of inner voice, right, where it tells them that you are unlovable, nobody is going to love you if you do not perform, you have to earn people's love. For these people, they cannot simply exist and accept love,
Hmm.
right? So I think that's where it is. What do you think? Is this making sense to you?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about taking for granted the people who care about you, right? I think that is the truth for everyone, right? Like you of course can't shout at a random person, but we tend to be so harsh on our parents, our friends, our partners. Like, do you think that, is, I don't know, is like, say our say sense of space, our comfortable space is supposed to be where we are with the loved ones, right? Where they should be able to witness the dark side of us as well, like the times when we get angry, the times when we cry, the times when we get vulnerable, things like that. But I'm just thinking, like, if she can't, I mean, of course that was a line that she crossed where she was extremely being abusive rather than just expressing. How do people like draw the line and say, okay, I can express, I can be myself, I can express my dark sides, but within that limits or boundaries, how do I protect myself? How I am, it just not, it doesn't make sense, it just doesn't follow. Do you
So,
understand what my question
yeah,
is?
yeah, yeah. So I think, like, one way to conceptualize this is basically understand that, our impulses, right? So we're all born with like an empty mind, and then we slowly imbibe or internalize the voices that we basically heard as children. So the voice that is harsh, the voice that is kind, whatever it is, voice that tells you you are brilliant, you are fat, you are kind, whatever it is, right? These are all actually the first voice that you hear. It's actually not your voice, it's the voice of the people that you surrounded your childhood with, right? So the thing is, like, if you had healthy parents, the voices would be objectively more accurate. But if you did not have, like, a healthy environment growing up, the voice is going to be kind of biased. It is going to be something that is self-sabotaging in nature. It's going to be harmful either to yourself or to others. So now when we look at boundaries, right, I think boundaries is again something that you learn from parents. So unfortunately, the thing that we learn about boundaries is to not have boundaries at all, because Indian parents do not let you have your own sense of identity. Right. So if you start to kind of say, like, if you get angry, right, the first reaction you're going to get from your parents is like, a consequence that's extremely detrimental to your well-being. Like, there's going to be punishment that follows the first time you basically set a boundary with a parent. And as a child, right, when your parent punishes you by either withdrawing their love or basically saying you're not my child, some parents like casually joke about how you're adopted and things, which is very problematic. But like, when these are things that kind of get thrown at the child feels helpless. So the child learns that having a boundary means I could die. Their survival instincts is going to be so that they never put themselves in a situation where they uh, are under such harmful circumstances. So instead of saying, this makes me angry, they internalize the hate, right? So when they finally find a safe space where their anger is something that can be expressed, I think there's a little bit of a temptation that you have where you want to also see and push the limits and see if it is okay. Because when you feel anger, right, express anger, it feels really good. Rage feels really good when it's expressed. Oh, this makes me so angry. And then you roll your eyes. You like anything that, comes with expression feels good, because expression is basically what gives you pleasure in life. That's your life force. We're all here to express ourselves. So when you look at anger is not the problem. Anger is amazing. All of us should express it. But anger, when it becomes aggression, right? Then that's a problem. So aggression can be verbal aggression where we, insult each other, use like foul language, and we basically make the other person question their worth, right? So verbal aggression, bad. Physical aggression, bad. Sexual aggression, again, bad, right? So I think that's where the boundaries are. And as an adult, you slowly like get into it. See, I think it's going to happen this way only. I don't think you can skip the aggression part and become like a whole human. I think developmentally, right? Like you have to go through phases, stage one, stage two, stage three. So I think stage one is just feeling angry and getting comfortable with anger. Stage two would be to experiment a little bit with aggression and then deal with the consequences of it, right? So this is where you have your first breakup. This is where you have your first, sort of thing where you realize you are capable of inflicting pain. You are not just a victim. You are also capable of being the abuser yourself. So this is like a proper spiritual awakening if you look at it, because like, oh my God, I used to be the one who's always bleeding, but now I am the one who's causing other people to bleed. So you realize your own power through the fact that you aggressed once or twice, right? And after that comes stage three, where it's a little bit more balanced, and you say, okay, I can have anger, but I choose not to aggress, because aggression is something that is going to not just destroy the other person, but destroy me as well. And that is like when you become a full, whole, functioning human. And I think that's what reparenting your inner child basically is.
Hmm. So you're saying that, when you ask us to the reparent ourselves, how do we know that we require reparenting? How do we know that where we have to teach? What are the parts that we are? I understand that there might be parts that we are aware of, right? Like maybe there are people who have anger issues, or there are people who tend to get into patterns in relationships, or there are people who tend to put themselves in a place where they don't stand up or they don't set boundaries. There are problems that we identify. But how do we know how to go forward with this parenting thing? What do we say? What do we do? What's the first step in all of that?
I think the first step is like realizing you need reparenting, because if you think you don't need it, you won't obviously get started, right? So I think one checklist that you can kind of look at in terms of like, do I need reparenting, or am I already like living my best life? Right, is to kind of see if you're depressed. I think like, I honestly think most people today need reparenting, but because like most people today are mentally struggling, and there's not a single person who doesn't relate to this word depression. There are again more people suffering from anxieties, more people suffering from all sorts of things. And mental health is, it's not just a trend, it's actually something that's talked about because it's become relevant. It's personally relevant right now because, yeah, we are, collectively kind of going through like chaos internally, and that is showing with the outside world, right? So I think, we believe that like the opposite of depression is like happiness. But that's actually not true at all, because you can't be happy all the time. You have a name for it: mania, hypomania, right? So being happy all the time is also in a way a disorder. It's all about like, so the opposite of depression would not be happiness, but rather it is expression. So if you are able to kind of figure out ways in which you are suppressing yourself, you are like basically shutting yourself, shrinking yourself, then that means that you are in need of reparenting. Are there places in your life where you think, you tell yourself no, you don't do it, but you really want to do it, you'll be good at it, but then you stop yourself from doing certain things? You talk yourself into playing it small. You tell yourself to dull your light because you think it'll scare someone else. You don't want to step on anyone's toes. You don't want to hurt someone's feelings, because if you spoke the truth, things would like, it would break the family, it would break the marriage, it would create a lot of issues. So anything that you feel like you need to suppress in order to keep the status quo, uh, that is basically what is causing your depression,
Hmm.
right? So if you find yourself in this place, understand that your inner child is not okay. Understand that your inner child actually requires reparenting. And the thing is, like, this is just the first stage, right? The second stage would be to question, do you want to change? Do you want to live a happier life? Do you want to live a life that's more purposeful and more expressive when it comes to, basically who you're meant to be in this lifetime? If yes, then this reparenting thing is something you should consider seriously, because believe it or not, because I know whatever I'm gonna say is gonna sound delulu to most people, but if you decide to change, you can actually have a much more satisfactory life. I won't say it's going to be a happy life, because when you're happy all the time, it's just like something's wrong with you. I don't trust people who smile a lot because life is not like, yeah, it's not okay. So, but then you will live a life where you're more real, right? Like if something bad happens, you are okay to cry. If something good happens, you feel it 100%. If there's something, someone, like irritates you with, you get fully angry. You basically start to become a more centered, aligned person, which you are basically meant to be. This quote of like, be you, be yourself, as cliche as it is, uh, being healthy is just being yourself.
So it all comes down to one thing is if you are suppressing or holding back who you are, you're holding back your expression, you're holding back the showing your authenticity, which means that you definitely need reparenting, right? That's what
Yeah.
is you meant by that. But when you are talking about, no one can be happy all the time. I think one thing is that there's this two extreme, right? There's a positive extreme and negative extreme. Let's just say happiness and sadness, right? You can't stay in one zone all the time, but I think where you can do align and bring yourself most of the time is that neutrality. That's what people with mindfulness do it. Like they detach and say, okay, I'm not going to feel happiness or sadness. I'm like going to detach myself. I think that is a place you can train, but I'm not sure because I've tried it. I'm not sure how effective that is because it's like I feel like lately I've been realizing the beauty of feeling emotions, especially the bad emotions like sadness, disappointment, jealousy, and anger. So I feel like these emotions, it comes out due to certain experiences, and when you feel it, the impact it has on you, and I don't know, it's just some beauty in feeling feelings. I feel like, lately that's what
I,
I feel
I,
like.
I I agree with you. I see. I don't know. Like I'm familiar with like Buddhist traditions and stuff. As much as detachment and all that sounds like good on textbook, I wish I could unplug my emotions and then switch it off and be in this Zen mode all the time. I think that's such a boring life to live.
It is.
It's so boring. Like, why would you like? Okay, if you want to do that,
Yeah, if
I
it
approve
works
because
for
it's
you,
your life.
sure. But then
Yeah,
I
but
feel
like
like
I
personally, I
yeah
think from a personal point of view, feeling those feelings is such a beauty. It's like looking at the creation of God. That this is also this emotions is such a creation of God. It has so many flavors to it, and that each flavor is changes you. It's like this the gold going into this fire and getting refined. It feels like that. Like every emotion just refines you and shapes you into the person you are. And I think it's a lot of times people are either hyper expressing or hyper suppressing. Like I think it is not good to act on your emotions. It's good to feel your emotions, think about it, and then see how you want to express it. I mean, for example, if I am sad and I can sit and with the feeling, and I can see, okay, how do I want to express it? How do I want to make sure that I feel complete when by this emotion completely, I can use this emotion, things like that. I feel like, and also the reparenting thing. So see, when we talk to the inner child, I feel like I went to this anugraha thing, right? And they have this approach of getting in touch with your inner child in a very playful manner. I feel like we as adults, I think a lot of people are now understanding is just being a child and just doing stuff like this walk that we used to do, like jump and walk when we used to.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah the skipping
That is
walk.
such
Yeah.
a fun thing.
thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, like we need to really, if we want to get connected to our inner child, I feel like people have become adults at a very young age. All of us, most of us have become an adult at a very young age, and we lost that spark of being a child. And even right now, the newer child are also extremely, mature. And I don't see being mature is, I don't think so. It's a healthy thing to do. It is.
I think being mature is like a sign that you're traumatized.
So, unfortunately, if your child is acting mature, please let her or him have the fun that she needs. I feel like we should get into that sort of that child play. And when the child play, we do that. Definitely, I feel like the demons or the adult demons or the problems will peep in. And I think that's when whatever you were saying, no, that reparenting ourselves and bringing us to understanding, okay, this is the way that you have handled it so far, you have suppressed yourself so far, how about expressing it, how about expressing in a safe space first. For example, you don't have to do it with strangers, you start in your family, then with your friends, then in your with the strangers. So you start small and then slowly pick yourself up to situations where you are able to comfortably express yourself. Like, is that does that sound like what you were going for?
Yeah, basically that. See, the thing is like in an ideal world, your parents will do proper parenting, and none of us would have like bad childhoods. None of us would have been mature, during our childhoods. We would have all been messy, chaotic, just creative, right? We would have all been loud and it would have been fun. We would have been like little animals. But like as you grow older, you contain yourself, you're able to be a little bit more mature because that's how maturity has to happen. It's developmental. But unfortunately, that developmental freedom was not given to a lot of adults today. They just had to mature at a very young age. So now they realize like life is just, I've always been an adult. So adulthood also feels very like, what am I living for? So for them, I think it is important to get out there. I think, like things like getting out, like when one small thing you can do is like when it rains next time, instead of saying, it's raining, gotta take an umbrella out, go get wet. Like, dare yourself. Like, it's okay. It's just
The
clothes
only
and
problem
stuff.
I have is so every time it rains, I do think of getting wet. It's just my phone, my laptop, my bag. That's the only problem I have.
You keep it aside and you do it. You're an adult. You can problem solve. These are not, like, oh, weird things. But like, so that's the thing. Like, we just have to give ourselves permission to, be messy and be a little dumb. I understand being dumb is like a horrible thing because your inner voice tells you, oh my God, are you stupid? Are you an idiot? Are you a child? But like, you didn't do things that you were supposed to do as a child. So do it, because if you do it, you're not going to be depressed anymore.
See, I mean, I think you asked me about, this childhood memory, and I think we all have to do share your childhood memory, favorite childhood memory, in the comments. But you didn't tell me what your childhood memory is.
So mine's actually like a complicated thing. I don't know. When I think of childhood memory, this is something that I'm very proud of. So I once like, I was this very, dramatic child. I wanted to like surprise my sister. I wanted to like iron her dupatta and, basically
So
be that
sweet.
person who's like, yeah, I was very good intentions I had, but then
Mhm.
I obviously did not know how to iron, and then I created like a proper hole in her fancy dupatta that was like her, Christmas outfit or something. So it was her good dress, and I didn't know what to do because I knew I like messed up big time. So my first impulse was to hide it. Like I went to the laundry basket, dug all the clothes out, and then put it in the bottom, and then put all the clothes in. And then, like, I'm just sitting in the house. I'm like, oh God, when are they gonna find out? If they find out, I'll just say it was not me. I was like preparing a script in my head.
How is that
And
a
then,
good childhood memory?
I'll get there. I'll get there because you'll see
Okay.
how like the good part is. So like I don't know, my parents were like seated there, and then I kind of said, you know what, like I can't sit with this guilt because I'm very uncomfortable. So I kind of sat down with my parents. They were, I think, watching TV or something. I was like, switch it off. I need to talk about something important. And then all their attention was on me because they were scared because I tend to be very dramatic. And I told them, I did something really bad. And they were like, "What did you do?" They were like ready to yell at me, like, "What did you do? What happened?" And then I was like, "See, shh, you can't like do that. I will tell you the truth, but you have to promise me you will not scold me and you will not beat me. You will still love me." Because like that was my fear. Like if I told them the truth, like they were gonna do something to me that I cannot handle. Because at that point in time, I knew the only people that I loved were my parents, and if they did not love me, it would destroy my life. So when I told them this, they kind of again freaked out because they were like, "Tell us what you did. Tell us." And then I said, "No, you promise me." And then like they promised. They said, "Okay, we promise. What did you do?" Right? So I go inside the room and then I'm like picking up the vada and I'm like, okay, you can say it because they're not gonna scold you, they're not gonna like do anything. And then I'm like, I stand in front of them, I'm like, I did this. And the beauty of the iron box impression was there. And then they're like, "What did you do? Why? What happened?" And then they were like, "I wanted to iron it because like I wanted to surprise her, but like I didn't know how to." And then they were like, "Why did they started off that way?" I said, like, "You promised, you promised, you promised you wouldn't scold me." And they were like, "Okay, fine." And they said, "Okay, it's okay, parwala, it's okay." And then I kind of somehow unlocked this new way of communicating with my parents, where I can tell the truth as long as I have the assurance that they will still love me,
Mm.
because that was the fear that I had. So now, like, even now, I kind of use this where, like, when I say, I have something important to share, I need your attention, all their attention's on me because they're like, "Oh God, this girl's done something." That their imaginations do run wild. But at the same time, they're also able to kind of give me that space where I can be honest. And I think, like, this is what we need to do for ourselves, have that sort of boundary where I will speak my truths, and I still think I deserve love.
Mm.
And when we can get to that place where we know that, despite our flaws, despite our insecurities, and all those imperfections, uh, if we all kind of understand that we still deserve to be loved, I don't
I
know,
think
things would change.
it also, from what you've said, somewhere we always think that, it is everyone's else responsibility to keep us, comfortable and safe. But it is not. It is
Mm,
our responsibility to teach people how to keep us safe and comfortable and things like that. We need to tell them how I'm supposed to be respected, loved, and things like that. Because see, often people don't really think about you all the time. Like they only think about themselves all the time. So a lot of my clients also, what they do is they like, "You're supposed to understand where I'm coming from. You're supposed to understand what has happened to me." I'm like, it is not that. It is about you are stepping over yourself. You are unloving. You are being harsh on yourself, and you expect others to do the opposite of that. That doesn't work like that. I think from what you
mm.
said, we need to teach people or tell them this is how I want to be treated, and this is how I would, express myself. I would be, and if this is something that is comfortable for them, if they can handle you, if they can make that space for you, well and good. Then go on with the whatever the relationship is. If that space is not available for you, then it is not about you or them. It is about that space is not something that can be contained there, and you just break off, right? Like, does that, what do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, like, reparenting yourself is basically taking accountability for your life again. Instead of, being scared and, living in that state of survival, you start to express yourself. You start to live life as if life is fun again. Like you are here because not because you didn't have a choice, but like this is your fate, whatever. But rather you are here because you are meant to experience the fullness, the beauty of life. And that perspective shift alone, I think, would change the world. I honestly do think like it's not that delusional to believe this. If all of us, understood our own potentials, um, things would be different.
Mm. No, I think, to just the listeners, the reason that we are talking about this is because we started from talking about loneliness and, misogyny and the marriage and the things that women go through and also men go through. See, it all comes down to all of these constructs that we are right now struggling with in terms of career or family or children or marriage. It all comes down to our self, where we are just trying to have a bowl inside of us. It's empty. And we are trying to like fill it up with the wrong things, like wrong relationships, wrong marriage, wrong friendships, wrong careers. All of this is like you're trying to fill it up with whatever you get, but you need to understand what it looks for is what your child in you is looking for. If you ask her, what do you want me to do? You would probably live a better life in general. So that's the reason that I think this episode is coming as we are getting closer to the end of the season, this season. I think that is what we want to end on, a much more positive note, but also more action oriented note. And yeah, that's what I want to say as a closing point. Do you have anything that to say to close it?
So I have this thing that I wrote, and I just want to read it out loud. This is to all our listeners. Be random, be chaotic, be authentic. Life is short. Don't take yourself too seriously, but that doesn't mean you deserve to be taken for granted either. I think with
Mhm.
that, we can conclude today's episode. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked whatever we were discussing about today. Do follow us on Instagram, YouTube. Do show us your support. Spotify is also something that's there. I forgot to mention it. Yeah, so I think that's about it.
Yeah, we'll see you until next time. Ta ta, bye.
Bye.